Okay, so this weekend, you probably went to see Justice League, or maybe not because you read the reviews, whichever you'd prefer. But you maybe like Justice League. You like what's on there. Maybe not the movie, but you like the characters. And you want to know, what can I pick up? What can I read that is awesome, that brings me back to the Justice League feel, to get me into the mood to see Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman and all the others work together? Well, I'm here to give you my top 5 comics that you need to check out for the Justice League and really just kind of pick these up right away. And I try to pick comics more accessible to anyone, and hopefully that gets you in. And now I haven't read every Justice League comic, so if you have some that I don't list, please put them below. But without any further ado, let's get to the list of the top 5 Justice League comics. Coming in at number 5 is Grant Morrison's run. Well, Grant Morrison's run is pretty much what started Justice League into like the A-list to get him bigger and bigger and bigger. His run is what most fans got into the Justice League in the 90s. However, to minimize it, the entire run, let's talk about the start of it. I think it's the best part to jump on. A lot of people really like the Age of Rock, or something like that, Rock of Ages, the storyline where it's like a maybe future. But let's talk about the beginning of the run. I think it's the most accessible to all people out there. He decides to have Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and the rest of the team up to fight similar heroes like themselves. Well, they're actually villains, but they acted like heroes in the public, so the public was tricked. However, the deeper we get into it, the more we see that these are false heroes, and that they're just trying to mess with the public's image. And it's kind of a cool story that does that. But then we get the big brawl at the end that's highly entertaining and more of the Justice League that we love. I mean, it has the amazing, charming 90s artwork. It's a great starting place for people to get into the Justice League, and it's Grant Morrison, who's not on drugs, so it's actually pretty easy to read. So I think it's a pretty good position and one of the better comics to start the Justice League at, and it's the 90s feel, so I know a lot of comics people like to feel like they're in the 90s still for some odd reason. Let's go. Coming in at number 4 is Justice League Origins. This, to me, is the perfect jumping on point for people who've never read Justice League. Do you want to know why I say that? Because it was for me. I hopped on, I enjoyed it, and it was what got me to go back and read all the other Justice League comics. This one in particular is done by Jeff Johns, and it gives this really like kind of fun blockbuster feel comic filled with a bunch of quips and great fight scenes. Really, it's like the Avengers movie, but on paper, but with Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern, and more. And it really is kind of cool to see them come all together for the first time in the New 52 universe, which is, you know, debated as good or bad. Forget that, we're talking about that. It's a great time to see all the heroes come together to stop Darkseid. So it's highly entertaining. It's a bit fluffy because it's just really an entertainment blockbuster type of story, but I think it's worth reading, especially for newer fans. This is easily the best one to pick up to just kind of get into the Justice League. Alright, so let's go to Kingdom Come. You may not feel like this is really a perfect Justice League comic, but in the end, I feel like it is. It has all our favorite heroes, sometimes fighting each other, sometimes fighting the younger generation of heroes, and it all mixes and somehow matches. The story is really Superman reflecting on the past and how he's settling with his life now in a world where there's new heroes and new villains, and it's just a very different look. But like an outlook of superheroes, but to me it still is a Justice League story because it's an intriguing look at the older Justice League. Some members are gone, they're dead, and you still kind of get the feel that these are the Justice League who have worked decades together. I really like that feeling in this. And it also really sticks out that it is the emphasis on Superman and his view on it, but all the core members of the Justice League are in here, or at least make cameos, and it does connect it all to feel like if it's not a Justice League story, it's a DC story like the world, but I feel Justice League is at the heart here still. Coming in at number 2 is Identity Crisis. Now, I know some people hate this story. I understand that. I fucking love it. A member of the old Justice League's wife is murdered. The story becomes a hunt, a murder mystery on who could have done it. I love that right off the bat. And then watching the different members of the Justice League interact is just amazing. Especially watching them act more human, giving us a more realistic look at these people who are mostly gods. It's actually really amazing how the artist and the writer combine their work together to really give us a more realistic feel on these characters. Especially when it mixes the old Justice League of like the 60s and 70s and the new 2000s and kind of goes back and forth to explore these characters and the depths behind them, I really enjoyed that. And then when you get to see them fight all together, it feels like the Justice League. And sure, they might sacrifice those big fight scenes for a more character development story, but it's actually one of the best. And it's actually something you could just read by itself with nothing else, and I really do enjoy that. Okay, and coming in at number 1 is The Tornado's Path, or The Red Tornado's Path. I think it's Tornado's Path. Sorry if I get the name wrong. But it's the follow-up to Identity Crisis, the reintroduction to the Justice League. And this is probably my favorite Justice League story that I've ever read. It feels like a team book for the first time, more so than even Identity Crisis and Kingdom Come, which I think some people would probably put those as better overall stories than Tornado's Path, but I think Tornado's Path feels like a team book, and we're talking about the Justice League. That's a team, so that's why this one really is great, because they rely on each other, they love each other, they will die for each other, especially watching the leaders, like in the beginning, pick the new members of the team, and then them actually coming together, and it's just really, really well done. But it's also a heavy story about Red Tornado, who is basically more robot than human, trying to find his place in the world, but when he becomes more human, and then some dark shit happens. I think it's a fascinating look at it all. I really just love the themes behind this story about family and being human and trying to work as a team and sacrifice. All of that was great, and by the end it got me hyped for more. I really don't know if it ever reaches this level again for me with the Justice League, because up in even Origins, as much as I had a fun time reading it, wasn't on this level, and then everything I've read past New 52 has been just not good for Justice League, especially Rebirth. Let's hope Christopher Priest fixes that. But this is something you can always go back. I do suggest reading Identity Crisis first, because it leads into this. Same author and artist, I believe. But this, to me, is the best Justice League team book. Now, I know for a lot of people, they're going to choose their own Justice League books, and Justice League to different people means different things. To me, this list that I have here are different sections of why I like Justice League, whether we're getting more of a character development story, more of a deep, dark story, more of a reflecting about the Justice League and how it affects the world, or just a fun, blockbuster, summer type story. I really enjoy all different types of Justice League, so I wanted to make this as diverse as possible, and I hope I did. I really suggest checking out all of these. All of them are worth checking out for their own reasons, but I would love to see some Justice League stories maybe I haven't read. List them below. I'll definitely check them out. I'm always eager to read new comics, especially ones that I haven't read from the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and so on. So list them below, and I hope you enjoyed this list. If you did, please hit that like button or share it, because I always like to get shared, and hopefully more people check out these awesome comics. Everybody else, have a great day, and go check out the Justice League movie. It's not that bad. I know that sucks saying it's not that bad for a Justice League movie, but it really isn't. It's pretty decent. Not great, but it's okay. Some really cool parts, though. All right, I'll shut up. Everybody, enjoy the video. Please hit that like button.